Hello. So in this video, we're actually going to be talking about the skin, and specifically. So the skin is the body's largest and heaviest organs, actually, and so it accounts for um, 8% of our weight, and so it has different functions as well. So some of the functions includes so it resists trauma. It helps an infection. So when I go like this, and like the actual impact would be considered trauma. So and the skin is like protecting the body from that trauma. And so it prevents the body from absorbing and losing excess water. So you think when you're swimming, you're not like completely just absorbing all the water around you, or losing it as well. So it actually produces vitamin D. I know that we like to say that we get the vitamin D from the sun. No, our skin actually is the one that produces it. Because of the ultraviolet rays from the sun. So yeah, it is also sensory receptors. It's where we can feel. It allows us to feel and touch and everything like that. So I can feel that something's hot. I can feel that something's cold. I can feel that something's smooth and rough. And it actually even helps us regulate our body temperature. So by keeping, when our body is cold, and so it'll help us by bringing the heat back up, or vice versa. And it actually even helps us with nonverbal communications. So things like, I could point, use the skin on my bones to point, or facial expressions more accurately, is what I should say. So I can move to show that my eyebrows to show that I'm angry. I can smile to show that I'm happy, or do this to show that I'm confused, such like that. And so there are three main layers in the skin, and I have this model here to show you. There are it's the top layer, which is this purple part, and the middle layer right here, the pink part, and then these yellow parts would be also considered another layer. So the top in the purple is the epidermis. So you can also remember, because epi means top, so epi, top, epidermis, top dermis, if you will. The middle part right here is all called the dermis, and so and such. So, and then right here, the yellow at the bottom is actually called the hypodermis. So the epidermis is composed of stratified squamous tissue, epithelial tissue, which I'll exemplify on the back. So stratified squamous. So squamous, small, meaning that, so squamous means that it's flat, and this is as if we're just looking at it from the top. So, or miraculously, this would be it. So flat. And then this is just like layers. This represents the layers of the skin. So flat meaning squamous, and then stratified meaning many. So yeah. On this epidermis we have on the epidermis we have I have right here a little bit more things like that. So if you can see here, this right here is the epidermis, this whole thing, and so you can kind of see like the flat cells that are on top of each other being stratified. So yeah. And so the epidermis is also composed of keratinocytes, which produce keratin, and so, which makes sense. And it also has melanocytes, which and tactile cells, which are actually give us the sense of touch. They are receptors for touch. And then there's the dendritic cells, which guard against toxins and microbes and other pathogens. And it's also a messenger. No, I'm sorry. It's also a receptor for neurons and stuff like that. And so, yeah, and so so that's the dermis, and then there's the epiderm. I'm sorry. Then there's the dermis. If I can turn it on here, doesn't seem to be on here, but yeah. So, but I'll show you right here. And then the epidermis is actually made of connective tissue and is composed mostly of collagen. And so it has hair follicles, this is where the nail roots are embedded as well. And so there's actually two layers or zones in the dermis layer as well. There's the papillary layer and the reticular layer. The papillary is like, is this thin layer that is loosely organized, and it's like an extra layer of a protection against something that breaks through the epidermis, and it is also rich in blood vessels. So, and then the reticular level or layer is deeper, it's thicker, it has dense irregular tissue. So it has dense irregular tissue, and it's more protective. So, and it actually absorbs impact, protecting again, just like, an extra layer of protection. And so the hypodermis as well, which is this bottom layer, it is composed of areolar and adipose tissue. It binds the skin to the underlying tissue and muscles. And so functions include, it absorbs pressures and blows to the body, so it's very similar to the reticular layer in that way. It protects the even deeper tissue in our skin or in our body. And it stores energy. This is like where we are able to store our fat, and this is where we can store, and so fat can also be energy and everything like that. And so this also even insulates this gives us insulation. So I like to say that, like, because in older people and in babies, they tend to have less of a hypodermis, and so they get colder easily, rather than middle-aged and young adults and teenagers do. So they have just not a lot more, but they have like a thicker hypodermis that allows them to insulate the skin a little bit more, or insulate the body, stuff like that. So yeah, that is just basically a brief description of the skin. And yeah, thank you so much for watching.